Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a king with his many daughters. The youngest princess was the most beautiful of them all, so radiant that the sun itself, which had seen so much, was astonished whenever it shone in her face. Near the king's castle lay a great dark forest, and under an old lime tree in the forest was a well. When the day was very warm, the princess would go out into the forest and sit down by the side of the cool well. And when she was bored, she would take a golden ball, throw it up in the air and catch it. This was her favorite plaything. It happened one day that the princess' golden ball did not fall back into her little hand as she held it up, but instead, it dropped to the ground and rolled straight into the water. The princess followed it with her eyes, but the ball disappeared and the well was deep, so deep that she could not see the bottom of it. Then she began to cry, and her crying grew louder and louder, and she could not be comforted. And as she lamented, a voice called out to her, "What is the matter, king's daughter? You weep so that even a stone will be moved to pity." She looked around to see where the voice came from and saw a frog, stretching its thick, ugly head out of the water. "Oh, it's you, old water splasher," she said. "I am weeping for my golden ball, which has fallen into the well." "Be quiet and do not weep," answered the frog. "I can help you, but what will you give me if I bring your plaything up again?" "Whatever you want, dear frog," she said. "My clothes, my pearls and jewels, and even the golden crown that I wear." The frog answered, "I do not care for your clothes, your pearls and jewels, or your golden crown, but if you will love me and let me be your companion and playfellow, and sit by you at your little table, and eat from your little golden plate, and drink from your little cup, and sleep in your little bed, if you will promise me this, I will go down and bring your golden ball up again." "Oh yes," she said, "I promise you all you wish, if you will but bring my ball back to me." But she thought to herself, "What nonsense this silly frog is talking. He lives in the water with other frogs and croaks. He cannot be a companion to any human being." Once the frog had her promise, he put his head down and sank into the deep water. After a short while, he came swimming up again with the ball in his mouth and threw it on the grass. The princess was delighted to see her pretty plaything once more. She picked it up and ran away with it. "Wait, wait," cried the frog. "Take me with you. I can't run as fast as you can." But what good did it do him to cry his croak croak after her as loudly as he could? She did not listen to it, but ran home and soon forgot the poor frog, who was forced to go back into his well again. The next day, when she had sat down to dinner with the king and all the courtiers, and was eating from her little golden plate, something came creeping splish splash up the marble staircase. When it had got to the top, it knocked at the door and cried, "Princess, youngest princess, open the door for me." She ran to see who was there, but when she opened the door, there sat the frog. She slammed the door in a great hurry, sat down to dinner again, and was quite frightened. The king saw plainly that her heart was beating very fast and said, "My child, what are you so afraid of? Is there a giant outside who wants to carry you away?" "Oh no," she replied. "It is no giant, but a disgusting frog." "What does a frog want with you?" asked the king. "Oh, dear father, yesterday as I was in the forest sitting by the well, playing, my golden ball fell into the water. And because I cried so, the frog brought it out for me, and because he insisted, I promised him he should be my companion. I never thought he would be able to come out of his water. But now he is outside there, and wants to come in to me." In the meantime, the frog knocked a second time and cried, "Princess, youngest princess, open the door for me. Do you not know what you said to me yesterday, by the cool waters of the well? Princess, youngest princess, open the door for me." Then the king said, "That which you have promised, you must perform. Go and let him in." She went and opened the door, and the frog hopped in and followed her, step by step, to her chair. There he sat and cried, "Lift me up beside you." She delayed until at last the king commanded her to do it. Once the frog was on the chair, he wanted to be on the table, and when he was on the table, he said, "Now, push your little golden plate nearer to me that we may eat together." She did this, but it was easy to see that she did not do it willingly. The frog enjoyed his food, but every mouthful she ate nearly choked her. At last he said, "I have eaten and am satisfied. Now I am tired. Carry me into your little room and make your little silken bed ready, and we will both lie down and go to sleep." The princess began to cry, for she was afraid of the cold frog which she did not like to touch, and which was now to sleep in her own pretty, clean little bed. But the king grew angry and said, "He who helped you when you were in trouble ought not to be despised by you afterwards." So she took hold of the frog with 2 fingers, carried him upstairs, and put him in a corner. But when she was in bed, he crept to her and said, "I am tired. I want to sleep as well as you. Lift me up, or I will tell your father." At this, she was terribly angry, picked him up, and threw him with all her might against the wall. "Now you will be quiet, you odious frog," she said. But when he fell down, he was no frog but a king's son with beautiful kind eyes. He, by her father's will, was now her dear companion and husband. He told her how he had been bewitched by a wicked witch, and that no one could have delivered him from the well but she, and that tomorrow they would go together into his kingdom. Then they went to sleep, and the next morning when the sun awoke them, a carriage came driving up with 8 white horses, which had white ostrich feathers on their heads and were harnessed with golden chains, and behind stood the young king's servant Faithful Henry. Faithful Henry had been so unhappy when his master was changed into a frog, that he had caused 3 iron bands to be laid round his heart, lest it should burst with grief and sadness. The carriage was to conduct the young king into his kingdom. Faithful Henry helped them both in, and placed himself behind again, and was full of joy because of this deliverance. And when they had driven a part of the way, the king's son heard a cracking behind him as if something had broken. So he turned round and cried, "Henry, the carriage is breaking." "No, master, it is not the carriage. It is a band from my heart, which was put there in my great pain when you were a frog and imprisoned in the well." Again and once again while they were on their way, something cracked, and each time the king's son thought the carriage was breaking. But it was only the bands which were springing from the heart of Faithful Henry, because his master was set free and happy. And so the prince and princess traveled to his kingdom, where they were welcomed with great joy, and they lived happily ever after.